Happy Friday, y'all. We've made it another week. Today, for our reading skill that we're going to visit and talk about, we're talking about making connections to a text. So, you guys make connections all the time. I just don't know that you recognize them as a connection. So, I want us to look here at this chart real quick. And I want you to think about maybe a time when you've read a story and that story reminded you of another book that you've read. That is what we call a text-to-text connection. Because if you remember when we've discussed other times, the word text just means words. So if you send someone a text message, you're sending them a message with words in it. If I ask what text did you read, that means I'm asking what did you read that had words in it? Was it a magazine article, a book? Was it a joke book, a comic book, anything that's got text, which is words? So the text-to-text connection is when what you're reading reminds you of something else you've read. Sometimes we read a book, and that book reminds us of ourselves. It reminds me of a time. So it's reminding me of myself. So we call that text, book, to self. And then there's times when we read something that reminds us of something going on in the world or something that's happened in the world. So that is a text to world connection. I think most of the connections that we have, well, no, I don't know if that's true. I think we have connections to all of them. I know sometimes I'll read something and I'll go, I just saw that on the news today. So that's like a text to world connection. A lot of times we have text to self and text to text. I had a text to text connection when I was reading Hail to the Chief, because I said that story was reminding me of the story we read the day before about little Daisy helping her mom cook in the White House. So that's a great example of text to text. So we're going to read together today. Move this back over. A chapter. So this is coming from a chapter book, but it's just one chapter. It's not going to be the whole book. From the book Ordinary, from the novel Wonder. That's so Ordinary is the title of the chapter. The book is Wonder, and you may have seen the book Wonder. I don't know if you've read it or not, but there's a movie now about little Augie. So the book is by R.J. Palaco, and Augie is a 10-year-old boy with a deformed face. So deformed means it just looks different than your ordinary person, although we know we're all very different. And he has to go into a mainstream school, so a normal school, public school, for the very first time. In this chapter, Augie introduces himself and some of the problems that he faces because he looks different. I want you to think about if you looked different, Augie looking different, what obstacles do you think he might have in like his daily life? Going to school, going to mom with the store, playing with friends outside after school. Think about that before we get reading. All right. I know I'm not an ordinary 10-year-old kid. I mean, sure, I do ordinary things. I eat ice cream. I ride my bike. I play ball. I have an Xbox. Stuff like that makes me ordinary. The word ordinary must mean normal, right? Because everybody rides bikes, eats ice cream, plays ball, Xbox game systems. Okay. But I know ordinary kids don't make other ordinary kids run away screaming in playgrounds. I know ordinary kids don't get stared at wherever they go. I remember once, I had a huge bump on my face. Everyone stared at me and I was so embarrassed and uncomfortable. So I guess I know a little bit of how Augie must feel when people run away or stare at him. It doesn't feel good. If I found a magic lamp and I could have one wish, I would wish that I had a normal face, that no one ever noticed at all. I would wish that I could walk down the street without people seeing me and then doing that look away thing. Here's what I think. The only reason I'm not ordinary is that no one else sees me that way. So does Augie think he's ordinary? Yeah, he just says other people are the ones who don't get it. But I get it. I'm normal just like everyone else. But I'm kind of used to how I look by now. I know how to pretend that I don't see the faces people make. We've all gotten pretty good at that sort of thing. Me, Mom, and Dad. Baya. Actually, I take that back. Via's not so good at it. She can get really annoyed when people do something rude. Look, like for instance, one time in the playground, some older kids made some noises. I don't even know what the noises were exactly because I didn't hear them myself, but Via heard and she just started yelling at the kids. That's the way she is. I'm not that way. Via doesn't see me as ordinary. She says she does, but if I were ordinary, she wouldn't feel like she needs to protect me as much. And Mom and Dad don't see me as ordinary either. They see me as extraordinary. I think the only person in the world who realizes how ordinary I am is me. Mom and Dad see him as extraordinary. I know that extra as an affix, that means it goes on the beginning of the word, and it means beyond, more than. So it's letting me know Mom and Dad think he is more than ordinary. That's kind of cool. Next week, I start 5th grade. Since I've never been to a real school before, I'm pretty much totally and completely petrified. What do you think petrified means? If you were Augie, how would you be feeling right now about starting a school for the first time, knowing that people laugh and stare at you often? He must be scared. People think I haven't gone to school because of the way I look, but it's not that. It's because of all the surgeries I've had. 27 since I was born. People think Augie didn't go to school all of these years because of the way he looks. But that's not the cause. The cause for him not going to school was he had so many surgeries, and his mom didn't want him to get sick. So because he had surgeries, he had to stay home and be homeschooled. It's a beautiful example of cause and effect. Mom homeschools me. She used to be a children's book illustrator. She draws really great fairies and mermaids. Her boy stuff isn't so hot, though. She once tried to draw me a Darth Vader, but it ended up looking like some weird mushroom-shaped robot. I haven't seen her draw anything in a long time. I think she's too busy taking care of me and Via. I can't say I always wanted to go to school because that wouldn't be exactly true. What I wanted was to go to school, but only if I could be like every other kid going to school, have lots of friends and hang out after school and stuff like that. I have a few really good friends now. Christopher is my best friend, followed by Zachary and Alex. We've known each other since we were babies, and since they've always known me the way I am, they're used to me. What do you think about Augie? And what qualities does he have? So when I say qualities, I'm saying what kind of person on the inside is Augie? Not about the outside, but the inside. So think about the story and think about what we've read and think about what would support what I say. When we come to class together, come with a couple words to describe Augie, not on the outside, but his inside, his characteristics. Think about that. Now I want to go back to our anchor chart with making connections. This chart will go in your notes for today, okay? You don't have to draw all the cute people. If you want to go back later and do that, you can. But what I want you to do today for your notes is to put making connections, text to text, it reminds me of a book, text to self, it reminds me of a time, and text to world, it reminds me of something in the world, so that you have those notes written down to remember, because as we write our next reader's notebook, I'm going to be asking my students, and I think Ms. Corbin might work with her students, to make a connection to something they've read. So we're going to practice that. So make sure you have these notes in your notebook. I will post this anchor chart as its own separate picture, so you don't have to watch the whole recording again. You can just take the picture, pull it up, write your notes. Remember, all the extra fun, pretty details and pictures are optional. You don't have to do those, but if you like to draw and want to, you can. Make sure you have this done before you come to class. And I want you to come to class thinking of what you had to overcome preparing to come to school this year. So I want you to make a text to self connection. Think of a time, think of something this year, because this year I think we've had lots of things we've had to overcome. Something this year coming into the fourth grade in a remote learning situation and setting that you had to overcome, just like Augie had to overcome his fear of the way others would treat him. And I'll see you guys in just a little bit.